Hey guys, it's Lorentz from Untitled Cosplay, and today I'm going to show you guys how I made Sephiroth's shoulder pad. So this is a pretty straightforward armor build. What I really want you guys to take away from this is how you guys stack together. So we're going to start this off with the various thickness of foam. So I used a combination of 4mm, 6mm, and 2mm, all right here. And those instructions will be included in the PDF. So like any foam build, you're just going to take that pattern and transfer onto foam and cut it out. Save you guys time, since you guys already know how to do that. I'm going to use the latest kit file. They have the details already engraved on there. You're still going to need the pattern to add the registration mark so that when you put the two pieces together, they can line up perfectly. And that's what I'm doing right here. Okay, and here are the registration marks. And of course, we're going to do that for the other side so that they line up perfectly. So the base armor that goes around this area, which I guess you can call it your shoulder, around the chest, we're going to take those pieces and mark the position accordingly. And we're going to use this curve area, which is this region you see here. We're going to use that as a key point to make sure that they're in the right position. And of course, do the same thing to the top piece. And once you're done, you should have something that looks like this. So going back to the shoulder pieces, you should have something that looks like this. And of course, we're going to heat shape the foam using a heat gun. And no, you cannot use a blow dryer. I don't think a blow dryer gets that hot. So just get the heat gun. I'll have a link down below. This is the styrofoam ball I've used for all my shoulder pad. So once you're done shaping the shoulder pad, you should have something that looks like this. And once you're happy with it, you're ready to move on to the next step. We're going to move on to that other piece that hangs right down here, which is this. And it's pretty straightforward. We're going to use heat gun, heat it up. Once it's hot enough, we're going to roll it up so that it's curved so they can wrap around our arm like so. So once we're done heat shaping all the foam pieces, we're ready to put them together. And of course, we're going to use contact cement just because that has flexibility. So we're starting off with the base piece. We're just going to apply contact cement to both surfaces, put them together like so. So that's what I'm doing right here. Give it a minute or two to dry and then carefully line up the position like so. You want to conserve that curve as best you can. So here I messed up a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal because it's gonna be at the inside, so you won't be able to see it. Also, another thing is when you're applying contact cement, it does get a little messy, so you might go over the edges that you've marked. It's not a big deal. You can always come back with Goo Gone and rub it off like so. So that's what I'm doing right here. And I recommend you doing this. And just to make it look a lot nicer, we're gonna heat it with a heat gun just so that the foam surface is nice and sealed. So just make sure you don't burn the foam. It does take some experience to get a feel for when it's gonna burn. So just play around with it. Okay, now going back to the shoulder pads, we're gonna apply the contact cement to that seam edge like so. Give it a minute or two to rest, tacky to touch, and then carefully line up the edges like so. Starting with the details and connecting the registration marks like so. You can see the seams kind of coming apart. So if that's your issue, you can definitely use some super glue. That's what I'm using right here. This is just your generic super glue. I know it says Bob Ross on there, but you can pick it up on Amazon. So that helps put the seams back together, but it does leave a hard surface because it's super glue. So we're gonna start with 150 grit, move over to 200 grit, and then finally finish it off with 400 grit. And some people even wet sand it, and you can do that. I didn't do it for this build. Okay, and once you do it correctly, you should have something that looks like this. And we're gonna come back and heat seal it with a heat gun because the foam got worked up, so it's a little fuzzy again. So the heat is gonna seal up the foam. However, if you use a heat gun and it's too hot, it's gonna undo the contact cement. I know, bummer, right? It's just a big problem. It takes a little bit of finesse to get this part correct, but it's super worth it to get this nice seamless finish. It's not that big of a deal. We have this new product I'm trying out. It's called foam pudding. Pick it up on Amazon. And if you use water, you can rub it out like so. I actually like this better than the rapid fill. I mean, both of them have their own applications. Rapid fill, I feel, is a little bit more dense. This one's good for like larger gaps, in my opinion. So give it a minute or two to dry. You should have something that looks like this. And once it's dry, we're gonna hit it with some Plastidip, and that's what I did right here. This is the pauldron with 4 layers of Plastidip. Yes, just go like 4 layers. Just go, I recommend 3 or more layers on foam builds when you're using Plastidip, just because it's gonna make the finish look a lot better. Once you're done with that and you're happy, then you can hit it with metallic spray paint. Here I'm using the Rust-Oleum Specialty Metallic. This is my go-to metallic. and it always produces a really nice metallic finish. And the dry time for this says 24 hours, but I usually give it 2 hours just because I've noticed in 24 hours you still leave fingerprints, so just give it 2 days to dry. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna actually take a strip of just extra foam and we're gonna create that curve and put it underneath. Plus, it's also gonna help raise that shoulder look because that's how Sephiroth has his armor on. So here I'm just cutting out a strip about 7 inches and putting them together. So I'm gonna cut 3 strips, just that's gonna depend on you how thick you want the shoulder pad to rise above the shoulder harness. Here I'm using 3 and this is just, I think, 8mm scrap. So if you had something, you guys can do the math to stack it up, but I'm using 3. So in this case, it's gonna be 24mm going up. And of course, I'm gonna use contact cement, sandwich all of them together, put them together. And of course, wear your respirator. So line up the edges like so. And this is the important part, when you're putting them together, make sure that curved stack, that way the shape is conserved. So if you have something right, it should look something like this. That curved piece is basically gonna go underneath the shoulder pad like so. And we're gonna line up the midpoint as best we can. The foam, I guess the foam padding that I made is a little too long along the edges. It's blocking the circle details on the outside. So I'm actually just gonna come back and trim off those edges with a utility knife. So with the new foam padding, it looks a lot better and it fits a lot better. And once I'm happy with the position, I'm gonna take my Sharpie and mark it like so. So this is gonna help when we're gonna put contact cement on. So that's what I'm doing right here, putting contact cement on. Give it a few minutes to dry and then put them together. And the important part here is we wanna keep the shoulder pad curved. So that's what I'm doing right here. Because before that it was flat. So putting this foam padding underneath that has a curve already is going to reinforce that curve on the shoulder armor. And if you do it right, you should have something like this on both shoulder pads. Cool, so we're basically done with that. Moving on to the next part. So the next part is the strapping. So here I'm using some nylon straps as well as some Velcro pieces. So here I'm just taking that nylon strap, measuring it out on that foam padding. Once I get that nice padding, cut it out. And I'm gonna do 2 pieces because I need 1 for each of the Velcro pieces. And I'm gonna take that to my sewing machine. I didn't show it right here, but I'm basically gonna stitch that on, top stitch it onto the nylon straps. Here it is, the Velcro with the nylon straps on the back. Once you have that, you're ready to put the hot glue on. Like I said, it sticks better to foam if you do this method. And a good tip I found from other builders is you can put some hot glue around the seam edges of the nylon just in case you sweat or there's certain heat from the environment that can get in and undo the hot glue. This is a good method because it seals it up. Okay, do that for both of the pieces and you should have something that looks like this. Now for the complementary Velcro piece, we're just gonna stitch it on since we have the position already on the foam pad. And we're gonna put it on to a mannequin and find this proper position. Now if you don't have a mannequin, because I know most of you guys won't, you can definitely use your knee as a curved, to mimic your shoulder and position it like so. But since I have a mannequin, I'm gonna use a mannequin. Paid a lot of money for this mannequin. Yeah, so we'll get that position in and I'm happy with it. Then I'm gonna take some hot glue, put it on, and of course, just stick it on. So you should have something that looks like this. Now we're almost done. We just need that little shoulder, that armor piece that flaps around the arm. And to do that, we're taking 2 pieces of nylon. Here I have 4 because 2 for each side. So we're gonna take that extra armor piece and position it to the shoulder pad like so. And once we're happy with that position, we're gonna mark it with a silver Sharpie. And just because I like to keep things symmetrical, I'm using a ruler to measure the space between the foam padding and the position. Do you see that it's the same? Here I saw that it's not the same coming from the top to the end. So that helped me fix it up. So we're gonna take those nylon straps, position it however you like. You can definitely use 1 nylon strap to attach this, but if you use 1, it's definitely gonna flap around more. So I like to keep 2 just so that there's flexibility, but there's less mobility going left and right. So we're gonna take those nylon straps, put them on this extra armor piece, mark its position, and there's nothing to it. Just take those nylon straps carefully, take your time, press those nylon straps on like so. And of course, you can come back and seal those seams up like I was talking about earlier, and that's what I'm doing right here. So I'm just putting like a pool of hot glue onto the straps. So if you're doing this method, just take your time with it. It's gonna take a while for the hot glue to cool down, probably like 5 to almost like 10 minutes, depending on where you are, before you start working with them again. So once the hot glue has cooled down and you're ready to handle it, go ahead and mark that position like we had earlier. And you can use a needle, one of these pin needles, to temporarily hold the position of the nylon straps. You can definitely use duct tape too. Once we have those positions marked and we're happy with it, we're going to carefully mark those nylon straps position and then apply hot glue just like before and stick the two pieces together. Okay, and that's basically it for this build. Pretty straightforward, like I said. The hardest part here, I guess the part I wanted to show you guys, was the assembly. So once again, I'm just go over it. Nylon straps, Velcro onto the nylon strap before putting hot glue onto it because it sticks better. So if you guys learned anything from this video, hopefully you guys learned that. That's how I put together Sephiroth's shoulder pad. So if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you guys are new here, check out these other videos I made. With that being said, much love, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.